do that so you can hear me. Hi, everyone. Welcome. Welcome to Quantum Unveiled, where it's a whole series that I've been doing around quantum reality. And today we're going to be diving deep into time mastery, timelines, shifting timelines, how to do that, what are the keys to shifting our lives. So first off, before we get started, I'm going through and looking and seeing, I got some people have their videos on, I get others. I would love for you to share. I want to get an idea, a feel for the crowd. How many of you know about timelines or understand a little bit about time mastery in the quantum realm and how that has to do with like healing diseases and manifesting? If you are someone, you say, I'm an expert, I know all of the things, put in a 5. And if you are someone you're like, I don't know anything at all, this is my first time ever, put a 0. And if you're somewhere in between there, put a 1, 2, 3, 4, right? And you can also share with like where you're joining us from, where, I'd love to hear where you're coming from. So that way I get an idea of where I'm going with today's explanation, so I can share about time mastery and really understanding how timelines work and the hidden mechanics of time. The benefits of what happens when we align to our highest destiny timeline, and I'll explain what that means, our highest destiny timeline in this lifetime, how quantum realm, time and space work, because I'm sure you've all heard and have been told that the way that we experience time with our brains in a linear fashion actually doesn't work that way. And that's how we can actually have things shift in our lives. And I've had miraculous things happen in my life. I've got some cool stories for myself and my clients about how shifting timelines, things showed back up in my life, and different things like that. So let's go over here and see what we've got. Where are okay, so we've got lots of 0s. Oh, cool. And a couple of 3s. All right. So we've got a good range. So I love it. I love that there's people on here that are like, I'm just going to show up. I have no idea what this is, but it sounds really cool. And maybe that was because you heard about the Mandela effect or, some things like that where the Mandela effect, which I'll start with that just because this will give us, some sort of thing. The Mandela effect is this experience where mass groups of people, large, like mass groups of people, have had experiences of realities being different in different experiences. So the name comes from Nelson Mandela's death, right? And so there's a phenomenon that a massive group of people remember Nelson Mandela dying in the 1980s. But in reality, or at least in this reality right here that you and I are in right now, he was released from prison in 1990 and didn't pass away. Obviously, he became president, right? And didn't pass away until 2013. Fascinating. The other one that is really cool is, and how many of you guys remember the game Monopoly? You guys all, how many on here ever heard of the game Monopoly? You can like raise a hand. So I'm going to ask you a question about the Monopoly man, and I want to know what your experience is, because different realities have had an experience of the Monopoly man being different. How many of you in this class remember the Monopoly man having we call a monocle, or a one eyeglass over his eye? And how many of you have no idea what I'm talking about and say the Monopoly man never had that? I'd love to hear this because we're playing some games today. Okay, which one? Tell me. I did it. Yes, eyeglass. Yes. Okay. Well, if you look at the world today, somehow, strangely enough, because we have shifted timelines and we have jumped from a collective timeline to a different timeline, the Monopoly man actually does not have a monocle. Fascinating, right? Or how many of you ever had Jiffy peanut butter as a kid? guess what? They say that there was no such a thing as Jiffy peanut butter. It's always been Jif with no FY. In our current timeline and reality, Jiffy peanut butter does not have and has never had an FY. It's always just been Jif. So this is there something really strange going on? Are we in the twilight zone, or have we shifted timelines? There's all sorts of other examples. One of my other favorites is Snow White, right? How many of you remember Snow White saying, "Mirror, mirror on the wall"? I remember "Mirror, mirror on the wall." Yep. Guess what? According to the timeline that we're living in right now, it is our reality. Snow White actually says, "Magic mirror on the wall." Fascinating stuff, huh? So what's really going on here? Well, this is a consideration of time and reality. Before I get into what's going on and how time is layered and the understanding of that, I'm going to share a little bit about me and who I am. And for those of you that maybe are new, haven't been on here before, and for those of you watching the replay or watching this experience on one of our other platforms. So I'm going to share a little bit about myself and then about time mastery. We're going to be doing some timeline work today. I'm going to do something that I've personally done with myself and my clients, and explain the difference between our past timelines, future timelines, destiny, how you can shift all of those things. And then I'm going to also be sharing with you about how to dive deeper into timeline work, and the power that it can have in shifting your reality and your time. Because if the collective can shift their reality and their time, so can we on a personal level. So my name is Melissa Binkley. For those of you, Melissa Binkley Minnich. I have some people that know me by my other name, but we are here. So I'm the founder of the Intuitive Intelligence Academy. I have worked with over 10,000 people in all parts of the world, and I have students in 18 countries that teach processes for transformation and healing and working in the quantum realm, bliss consciousness, divine DNA. I have over 20 different degrees and certifications, and I'm getting a PhD in the science of consciousness and human potential with Attract in Vedic science and quantum physics. Why I'm so passionate about talking about the quantum reality of things and how that works out in our actual metaphysical world and shifting our own experiences. I am also the creator of the Quantum Miracles docuseries. Our 4th annual comes out this November. In the past 3 years, we've reached over 3 million people with this docuseries. I've interviewed over 100 of the top New York Times bestselling authors, scientists, doctors, and leaders from all over the world about the intersection of science and spirituality, quantum miracles, and how we can bring that into our work together. So that's just a little bit about me. I don't want to get too deep into that. I'm also a New York Times, or not a New York Times, I always said it. I just manifested that. I am a #1 international bestselling author with a book coming out that we're working on going for New York Times bestselling author. And I'm speaking that into truth. And I've been working with and traveling all over the world, working with people and going to sacred sites, doing really amazing things. We actually have our next sacred site Bali retreat coming up in March, which I'm super excited about. But my story is not always about like magic and miracles. I was actually homeless in 2009 and completely lost in my world. And it was one of what I call my harmonic points, which I'm going to get into today when I talk about timelines. It was a harmonic point in my life where the same thing kept repeating its pattern over and over again in my life. And I lost a partner. We broke up. I lost my job and I lost my home. All 3 of those things, all at the same time. And that I ended up homeless. And this was the second time actually 1, 2, 3, third time in my life that this experience had happened. Once when I was a child, And then the second time was in my early 20s. And then this time in 2009, I was in my 30s. And, at that point, you kind of get to a point where you're like, if the same shit's going to keep happening over and over again, I've got to figure this out. I'm done. So I had my dark night of the soul, my coming to Jesus moment, as I call it. I dropped to my knees and I was like, show me the way, because I can't do this anymore. And fortunately, I had my first, I started doing the work and getting into that. And by 2009 to 2015, I had created an international organization that was helping people all over the world because I'd healed my own stuff. I did my first timeline work in 2013, which was the first time that I stepped into a different reality. I was at an event in, I think it was like Phoenix, Arizona or something like that. And I was working with someone, and we're going to do the process today that I did on that day. And I stepped into a circle in the quantum field. And when I stepped in, I looked around me and I was in Bali, Indonesia. Now, 2013, Bali was not something that was on my mind. I didn't know anything about it. I just had this sense of this feeling, and I'm literally stepped in, and it was my 40th birthday. And I looked around and there was fireworks and there was all these people there, and there was this big party. And, at that point, I didn't really understand about timeline work. So I had no idea that I had just stepped in and created a situation in my future, in one of my timelines. I'd stepped into it that would then pull me to that experience. So fast forward to about 4 years later, on my actual 40th birthday, by happenstance, this was not planned. I did not plan for this to happen. I was in Bali on my birthday. Fireworks went off. They had fireworks at the party that they threw for me on the island. And I had friends and people there, and people from all over the island that showed up. And so I'm celebrating my 40th birthday. And I remember posting pictures about it. And my friend, who at that point had become a dear friend and was a client of mine for several years, messages me and she goes, "Oh my God, you did it." She says, "You remember?" And I'm like, I was like, "What?" She's like, "Remember when you stepped into Bali back in 2013? And I was like, whoop. And it all came to me at that moment. And I remember when I was in Bali on my birthday that day, I had a visceral shift in my life. I was in Tanalot, which is this beautiful temple in the middle of the ocean, in the Indian Ocean. And I was bawling my eyes out, and I literally felt a visceral shift. I saw the world shift around me, and I always said it would always be before 40 and after 40. Nothing has ever been the same since. And it was literally a quantum leap in my life that happened from that moment, and everything shifted. And then I was in that experience of my lifetime. That same year, I decided that I had been traveling the world for 33 months, and I had given up my home in Florida. And that year I decided that I was going to be moving to California. Now, in this timeline shift, when that happened, so going back to my early 2000s, I left Ohio in 2004. When I left in 2004, I left everything. I had nothing. I had to leave everything behind, which included all of my child's baby books and pictures and christening gown. I didn't have any of it. I left it all. It was one of my big regrets from what had happened when I was in my early 20s, that I lost all of those things. And I decided to move to California. And as I was going back to Florida after traveling for 33 months to pick up my small storage unit of things that I had left over and put them, it was books and things that I had kept after I'd moved to Florida in 2004, I got a phone call from a friend, and she said, "Hey, Melissa," she's like, "I got this box. It's been in my garage." So this is 2017. I moved to to Florida in 2004. I met her in 2005. She says, "I've been carrying this box around for over 10 years. Within my moves, it's in my garage. Do you want this box?" And I was like, "Sure." I didn't know what was in the box. I was like, maybe some old clothes or who knows, whatever. So I pick up the box, I put it in my with my car to move all my stuff from Florida to California. And I take the box and I put it in the garage. I didn't open it. I was like, whatever. It didn't seem like it was that big of a deal. Until about 2 months later, when I decided to go open that box. And sure enough, inside that box was my child's christening gown, all of the baby books, love letters from the love of my life from back then, the one that one of the love of my life. All of my writings, I had been a published author, and I'd had a lot of stuff. All of my like writings from when I was a teenager and stuff that were in everything. All of the things that could have been the important things that if you don't want to ever lose showed up in this box that I never, in my remembering of my own timeline, ever gave to her, ever had her hold, ever had an experience. But because when I shifted that timeline, that the me on this other timeline in my past had obviously done that and was taking care of my future self, that this was the experience I was going to have. It was one of the most incredible experiences of my life to walk into that experience and have that. So things like this can happen in your shifts and in your timelines that are just super powerful, super amazing experiences. And so I want to share, like, how do we make this happen? How do we, how do we get this into our own experience? So first I got to explain a little bit about the idea of a timeline, or our time, or how quantum time works, right? So in our minds, we see time as a linear experience, right? We see it like this. We see a past and we see a future, but time actually works in a vertical experience where everything is existing right now. All lifetimes, all experiences, all possibilities are layered. Think of it like a layering of a cake, or a book that has pages and you can flip to another page. Is layered on top of each other like this. And so in this vertical time frame, the experience that you're having right now, I actually like to use, I call it the elevator theory. So I imagine that you have a quantum card, or your quantum key card. You're going up to a hotel, and when what happens when you check into a hotel, what happens? You get a key card and it takes you to a certain floor where your room is, right? Well, the same happens in our quantum reality. We have a quantum key card. That quantum key card takes us to a reality, the certain reality that it is coded to. So when we get on that elevator, I swipe my card and it takes me to floor number 2. So floor number 2 in my quantum reality is the reality that I'm currently living in right now. It is all my perceptions, my beliefs, my experiences, my memories from the past, everything, and all of the things that are going to happen in my future if I stay on this trajectory. That's what's on this key card that I've just stepped off of and into that reality. But guess what? There's a first floor, there's a third floor, there's a fifth floor, there's a basement, there's all of these other stackings, like a layer cake or an elevator or a hotel, right, of realities that are there that are only sometimes a shift away this much or a shift away this much. And what is the difference between that is the codes that you hold on that, the keys that you have that are keeping you stuck in the reality or the timeline that you're in right now. You can have instantaneous healings. You can have experience. Recently, we're in a class, and one of the women in the class got a diagnosis from her doctor that they were going to have to go in and do a biopsy because they thought she had a cancer, something cancerous going on, and they were going to go do a biopsy, and they had found this big mass and everything. And so, was that the reality that she wanted? No. So what do we do? What do? You go in, and she worked on the beliefs and the reality and the shifting of the timeline. She went back to the doctor. It was 3 weeks later. She went back to the doctor to have this biopsy. And he was like, oh my gosh. He's like, I don't know how we made a mistake like this. There's nothing there. There's nothing there to even biopsy. And so the possibility is all of these experiences, these realities exist in this elevator, but we are living on a certain one. But you can, change your past in that timeline to create a new future, or step into a new future or a new possibility by shifting your quantum reality, your key codes. And so that's one of the keys that, we want to really understand is, although our minds and our brains see things in a certain way or have a memory or have a reality, it is layered up and down like this. And that exists not only for this lifetime, but you can use timeline work to access other lifetimes, other experiences. And I say other lifetimes and not past lifetimes, because again, if we're looking at life vertically, they're all existing right now. And so you can access those things Maybe you want to access gifts that you had from another lifetime. Maybe you've had visions or seen dreams and you're like, I know that I was one of the 7 sisters of Venus that brought the flower of life, the unity consciousness to Earth. Maybe I want to access the gifts from that experience. I was an Essene that studied in Egypt at one of the mystery schools. I want to access that lifetime and bring it into my experience for into the here and now. All of these types of things you can do when you start to experience this shift in timelines. And how do we know that time is a construct of our mind? Think of it like this. Think of the way we talk about time flies by, or stuck in time. You ever have days where you feel like time drags on forever and ever, or that time goes by in the flash of an eye? In the end, how many times have you gone to a restaurant and sat down and went to order something, and you feel like it's been 20 minutes since anybody came over to give you your food, and it's been 1 minute, right? So it's all of these different types of ideas of like how time expands, how it contracts, how we can play with that. I've learned in my experience with working with quantum time is I've gotten really good at never being late, even when I leave my house late. Because if I understand the mechanics of how to work with time mastery, then if I don't want to be late, then if time is a vertical experience, then can you master it, manipulate it so that you can be on time? Yes, you can. I've gotten really good at, even the couple of times where I've left my house and I'm like, there's no absolute way I'm going to make this on time. But I have a thing about being on time. And I've literally seen like the waves part. And all of a sudden I'll be like, oh, I made it here right on time. So, and that's, again, it's a belief. How many of you believe that I will always be on time? I will always be on time. So we want to look at those types of things and really understand that. One of the things that we're going to work on today in this, when we're looking at these timelines, is understanding the quantum field, the quantum reality, and how you are the painter of that experience. And we're going to play a little bit with this idea of a retro causation. How many of you have ever heard of retro causal or retro causation? See if we're getting. Oh, okay. No. All right. So this is fun then, because I get to share a little bit about that. So that experience that I talked about, where I stepped into the circle and I saw Bali, what they have now proven scientifically is that your future is affecting you as much as your past, right? So you can actually step into your future or step into an experience, and that experience will pull you towards it. It actually goes back and grabs you and pulls you towards that experience. That is the idea of retro causation, which is where something pulls you forward into a new experience. And this is like, so we can use this idea to revise things, to shift experiences, to do that. So one of the things that we're going to do first is we're going to practice a technique that I like to call the art of revision. Okay, let's see what we got over here. No, nobody's ever. Okay. So retrocausal is a scientific term that explains how the future actually pulls you towards an experience, where we used to always think that we're one, especially in the creator world, right? What are we told? You're creating your reality right now, right? You're creating your reality. Your reality is going to create your future. In the timeline, we understand that your future is out there, and it can pull you towards it. And we're going to step into that today. And we're going to do this idea of revisionist. So in my timeline mastery 2-day retreat, one of the things that we do is we both go in and we do the work on revising the past, clearing up, cleaning up, shifting things that are not working in the past, and then going in and stepping into that destiny timeline, that experience. Because if you want to shift something, you want to do it from both ends, right? Like, if we want to work, we want the retrocausal, we want to go in and build that future, build that destiny timeline, step into that experience so that it can pull you towards it. But we also got to get rid of all of the gunk and all of the things that might have been holding you back, because then you can have an experience where you have an actual timeline shift. And some of the ways to know that you've had a timeline shift, well, like mine was like something showed up in my life that didn't exist before. I just recently had another timeline shift where I stepped into an even higher version of my timeline. And how I knew it was two things in my day were completely different. So I was at an event with Dr. Sue Morter in Phoenix last weekend. And every day when I would walk over to the venue, would pass this big truck, and this truck had this shoe on it, this red shoe, and it said something about the soul of whatever. And I made fun of it. I thought it was so funny. And then when I get into this experience at this event, there was a woman there who had this leopard stripe or zebra striped hair, and it was pink and gray, striped hair. Until day 3 of the event, when I walked past the truck, and the shoe was not red, but it was black. And I looked at my partner and I was like, what color was the shoe yesterday? He's like, I don't know. And I'm like, oh, wow. And I was like, oh my gosh, did I just do a timeline shift? Because something has changed, that it was not the same as it was yesterday. Okay. And then I went into the event, and the woman who had the pink and gray striped hair was purple and gray. And I walked up to her, I said, has your hair always been purple and gray? And she's like, yep. I was like, oh, okay. I was like, I don't know what, I just shifted timelines again. Something just happened. And I've been doing a lot of work on being in my highest vibration and shifting this thing. So I'm not surprised, but it's still, when you have those little telltale signs of things that happen. So the art of revision, I want to share a little, a story from one of my dear colleagues and friends, of what happens when you do a revision, when you have a vision experience. You can go in and revise something that happened in your reality that you didn't like, and you can do it by just visualizing it. So Alyssa tells a story about when she bought a new Tory Burch purse. She said it wasn't a cheap purse, you know. And she said the day that she got it, she put a bottle of essential oils in it. A big, huge bottle. The bottle leaked into the front pocket, turning the whole thing black, and the leather just started peeling off of it. It was awful. It was the day that she bought it. So that night she went to bed, and she said, I know that reality isn't hard, right? It's not as it seems. It's really malleable. So I just went in and I saw the person as perfection. And I saw the bottle of oil that was never getting on there, and was so happy and grateful for my purse being brand new. She said the next day she woke up and the purse was 80% better. But it wasn't 100%. It was only 80%. So she went to bed the next night and did the same process again. And guess what? The next day, the purse was 100%. You can literally revise experiences from your past. I've gone in and done this many times. I've healed relationships this way. I've healed experiences through going through this. And you know, it's one of the most powerful things that you can do. And that's just a simple physical understanding of like, oh my gosh, this is how this works, right? You can use this revision theory to do that. But what I want to focus on now is this idea of retrocausal. So are you guys ready to try an experiment? You're going to ready to do something cool today? Yeah. Okay, cool. I leave people smiling. Yeah. All right. So what I want everyone to do is, if you can stand for this exercise, I'm going to have you stand. So I'm going to give you the instructions, and I'm going to tell you to stand and what to do. But first, I want you, if you have a pen or paper or something like that, I want you to write down a couple of things that you're going to use for this experience. I want you to just think, if you were the bravest possible version of yourself, what would you do? Just write it down. What would you do? If you're like, no holds barred, nobody can stop me, I'm the bravest possible version of myself, this is what I would do. Okay. Now just think about what prevents you from doing that. Just notice. Just notice what prevents you from doing that. Okay. Now I want to know, what would you need to feel in order? So that thing, that bravest possible version of yourself, what would you need to feel in order to take action on that? Would you need more confidence? Would you need more compassion? Would you need more safety, security, whatever it is, like more money, like whatever, you know, but money is not a feeling. It's got to be a feeling. What would you need to feel in order to take action on that? Great. Great. So now that you have that understanding, what I'm going to have you do is you're going to be drawing a circle on the floor to represent your future. We're working in quantum reality here. So I know that this sounds really silly, but I promise you, I've done this around the world and I've done this at retreats. And I've had people had mind-blowing experiences. I did this when I first stepped into my experience in Bali. I also did this when I was teaching this at a retreat in California, and my client, my student, walked me through the process, and I stepped into the circle and I stepped into my wedding. 3 weeks later, my partner at that time broke up with me. Why? Because that person wasn't going to be the person that was supposed to be the one I was getting married to, literally. So also beware. Sometimes when you step into the bravest version of yourself, you don't always get what you want right away. Sometimes the things that you have to let go of are going to start falling away. I always give this as a big warning to people is we're going to step into part of your divine future. And when that happens, shit in your life's going to get shook up a little bit. Something might happen. You might be like something that's got to go away or some things like that, but it's always beautiful, right? Like, of course, at that time when my girlfriend and I broke up, I was very devastated, but I also knew that that wasn't meant to be my life partner. And I am now with, my amazing life partner, who happened to be my partner 20 some years ago, that all of the love letters that were in my box were from him, that we reconnected over 20 years later again. So always the love of my life, right? So these types of things really show up. Okay. So here are your instructions, my lovely friends. You are going to draw that circle on the floor. Okay. And now I want you to, and if you can't stand for some reason, or if you're driving, or if you're listening to this and a thing, you can always go back and listen to it again. But if you can't stand for some reason, then draw the circle in your mind and see yourself in your mind stepping into that. Now, inside that circle, I'm setting the stage for you here. Inside that circle is the bravest possible version of you that has that feeling that you just wrote down. That what do you need to feel in order to take action on that? That he or she or they, whoever, are standing inside that circle, that when you step into that reality in the quantum, you are going to be stepping into that person. And I'm going to walk you through it, and you're going to step into that, and we're going to anchor that into your system. You're going to look around you. I do it with my eyes closed, but like look around in your visual cortex and see, what do you see? What do you notice? Who's there? What are you feeling? And we're going to get some wisdom from that person that you're becoming. That is the you of the future, so that it can retrocausal, pull you from that future experience into that timeline, into that experience. Okay. All right. Let me just see if everyone is ready. Are we ready? Kathy's like, yeah, I see Kathy. Okay. All right. Beautiful. So again, this is you're stepping into the bravest possible version of yourself in the future that has the feeling that we just said. This circle that you've drawn on the ground is your quantum reality, your future that does exist right now. This person that you want, that bravest version of you, exists right now. And you're going to step into that. Okay. So in a moment, I'm going to ask you to step forward into the circle, into the perfect amount of time in the future now, when you have already embodied the bravest version of you, and where you have that beautiful feeling, and where you're embracing that person in you. So when you are ready, step forward now. Stepping into that circle, and just notice how the new choices worked and all of the resultant changes. Put your heart in the heart space of that future you, and your fingers in your finger slots, and your toes in the toe slots, and just notice, what are you experiencing? Sometimes people feel tingles or get noticed. So just notice, take a moment, look around. Who's with you? Where are you? What are you experiencing? What are you feeling? Maybe it's just a knowing. Just take a few moments to soak that in, really feel into and step into that experience. Now I want you to start to dial that feeling up in your body right now as you stand in that future you. Dial it up. Feel that experience dialing. Get it up to like a level of an 8 or a 9 or a 10. Beautiful. Awesome. Great job. So now standing in that circle as that future you, as that bravest possible version of yourself, I want you to just take a moment and turn around and just look back at you there, the you that is with me here today in 2023. Notice how far you've come in such a short period of time. What advice do you have for that slightly younger you that's back here with me? What do you want them to know about becoming the bravest possible version of themselves? Beautiful. Now, you're going to take all of that information and that knowingness and everything, and you're going to just walk back with me now, stepping out of that circle, returning into your original spot and taking it back to the you of today, to that slightly younger you, and start to breathe these learnings into your lungs and into your heart and into your mind and into your whole body as if it was, is, and always will be true. Just notice how it's different now that you recognize the bravest version of yourself. How does it feel? So just notice. So you got just a few moments. That's a super short, super simple exercise that you can do at any time, right? Like this one's really simple. We haven't started to shift your energy yet or shift anything, but that stepping into that and seeing your future, noticing it will literally pull you towards that. And then, then the key though, with when you're stepping into new destinies and new timelines, is you have to solidify yourself into that new experience, into that new timeline, because otherwise you be hopping or it won't like stay strong. So we got to think of timelines like this, right? So if you have a flashlight and in the core center of the flashlight, so it has all these beams of light. The ones in the center are the ones that are the strongest for you right now because of your beliefs, your experiences, all of those. So that's the timeline you're most likely to be on within your current reality. And all of the ones that are really close to that are going to be very similar, but they may be 1 degree different or 2 degrees different here and there, all very concentrated. But maybe the life that you want to live is out here in this outside beam of this flashlight. And maybe it's a huge quantum leap out there. Then you've got to rewire your nervous system and your body and your whole experience to be able to make that leap out there and stay, right? So that's part of what I'm doing in the 2-day quantum leap workshop, is really understanding when you're doing quantum leaping and timeline jumping, is that how do we solidify? How do we shift? Like I've seen in retrocausal, I've seen my timeline destiny, I've seen these things. How do I stay in that? How do I access my divine DNA? So, and this also goes for ancestral lineage, right? So we hold seven generations of ancestry, lineage and information in our DNA that is being passed down. How do we shift that for the generations that are going after us? And how do we connect that and heal those lineages and heal those things? Like all of these things are connected. So we dive into divine DNA, dive into bliss consciousness, and then shifting these timelines and doing that work. So we're going to do one other deeper practice today in meditation, where we're going to, I'm going to pull you in. I'm going to put on some beautiful brainwave is very specific for this for what we're doing, brainwave experience, and I'm going to walk you through a process to step you even more into that timeline that you just were in, so that whether you decide to join me for the 2-day workshop or not, you will have something that you can start to practice and take away from today, because I really want you to be able to understand this work on a deeper level. And also, I will be having a full-on course coming out called on Time Mastery. That would be coming out on Humanity's Stream, their streaming platform. So, the Gaia TV and Humanity Streams platform. So I'll be doing a whole course on that over there too. So there's different ways and options for you to find out more about this work and dive deeper into it. I know how powerful when this happens when you do these timeline shifts. Okay. So I want to hear, what did you experience? What did you notice? Put into the chat. I'd love to hear. Did you step into something? Did you see something? Did you feel something? What did you notice when you just did that? I call it the circle of love. When you just stepped into that circle of love into your divine future. It was empowering. Good. And and empowering, is that something that you want to be in, that that future you, like feeling empowered? Awesome. Oh, good. Did you notice anything, see anything helpful and uplifting? I believed it. All right, Denise, good. I believed it. Yes, that's good key. Beautiful. Hands felt very heavy. Okay. Awesome. Well, you can keep sharing those. I'm going to go over here and start to play some of the, find the background for this, so that we can do this meditation, this timeline shifting synchronization. And then I'm going to be sharing with you more about the timeline work and how to dive into this deeper. Okay, we're going to do this one here. Okay. Oh. Settle down in the body. Into your body. Heart. Systems of our body. We're going to get ready to walk. I cannot hear you. Okay, can you hear me now? Yes, now? Okay, better? All right, perfect. Thank you, guys. It's so difficult to figure this out with the Zoom. Okay, so here we go. Start to breathe into your body, just slowing down your breath. In for 5. Out for 5. Breathing in for 5. For 5. Slowly starting to breathe. As we get ready to walk into a new timeline. I just want you to notice as you're breathing in, just start to allow, imagine you have a silver cord that drops from your heart straight down into Mother Gaia, into the earth, connecting you deep into the wisdom of the earth, grounding you. And then allowing this connection, that silver cord, to now float up through your throat and your throat chakra and your third eye, out the crown, and all the way up into, through all the layers of time and space experience, into that vertical timeline, connecting you straight up and into the divine gateway, into source, into the unified field, the God field. And just allow that energy to start to pour into your system like liquid light, liquid gold pouring into your system and into your body. Dropping it down into your system. Imagining this beautiful, sparkling, rainbow-descent, golden light is pouring all the way down. Light coming up from the bottom, from Mother Earth, starting to just coalesce these two energies, groundedness of the earth, the love of the divine. As we start to step into our own quantum elevator, into our own experience of time mastery. Feeling that feeling, you are that bravest version of yourself. Maybe it's empowerment, maybe it's confidence, it's love, it's success, it's peace, it's joy, it's ecstasy, it's bliss. Whatever that feeling is, feel that in your body. As you notice a beautiful golden door in front of you. Golden door is the golden door to your reality, your new timeline, your new experience. And just take a moment and start to open that door and step inside. And as you step in, you're stepping into that inner temple, into the quantum experience of your inner chamber of reality. Just notice, what do you see? Maybe you see golden treasures everywhere, or crystalline light, rose quartz. Maybe it's a land of trees and rivers. Stepping into this chamber of your experience, feeling that feeling. And you'll notice that in your hand you have a key card. It is your quantum key, it is your quantum code. And in front of you, an elevator door appears. And you can choose any floor that you want. Your code right now allows you the key to stepping into the most empowered and bravest version of your timeline. so you can get a glimpse of it, so you can notice it, so you can see it. Then walk up, push the button, allow those doors of that elevator in your inside inner chamber to open and step inside. You go in and you tap your key card to the wall and up into the vertical reality of the time, no space and time. It takes you and swirls you and rapidly brings you up into this experience. And ding, the doors open. You get to step into your new reality, your new timeline. Just see it and notice it. Take a few steps in and start to notice what's different. Your house different? Is where you live different? Are your friends different? The work that you're doing different? Are you living more into your purpose? Are you happier, more joyful, more blissful? What is in this destiny timeline that's here for you to understand right now? Notice it, step into it, see it. And then notice, is it one of those 1% shifts that's really close to your current timeline and your current experience, or is it a big shift? What is it that you're going to need to do or change or be to experience this new timeline? What new gifts, what new techniques, what new tools, what things will you need to resource to live in and experience this timeline? Be able to stay in this experience. I'm just going to give you a few moments here to just walk around and notice, experience, see what you see, what you notice, gather information. All right, now it's time to leave that experience, gather that wisdom, heading back over to that elevator, knowing that this is a reality and a possibility for you with the right tools and the right experiences. You can You'll completely shift into this timeline. Just head back down that elevator or up that elevator, whichever way it's going for you, back into that inner chamber. When you get into that inner chamber, it's going to be a gift for you there. Maybe sitting on the floor or hanging from the wall or floating in the air. Notice it, gather it, get it into your hands, pull it into your heart. Maybe fire letters or symbols or numbers, or it might be an experience or a knowing or an actual object. It's something that you're going to need on your new timeline. Just notice, you may not understand it right now. Bring that with you. Say thank you, gratitude as you walk back out that golden door. Come back to this space, this time. This experience. Awesome. Welcome back. So it's just a short little experience to kind of see into your timelines. What we'll be doing for our 2-day retreat, I call it a retreat, it's online, a 2-day experience, is we're going to be doing breath work, dropping you deeply into your new timeline, but going back and healing the things that are going to keep you, are keeping you from being in that highest timeline. And that might not even be your highest destiny timeline. You might even find that you have one that's even beyond that. You've done this little bit here and you may shift already. You'll start shifting already into this one, because the thing is your reality will change as you shift into one, and it might open up an even higher timeline for you, other experiences, other things that can happen. And that's the key is like, I've shifted into what I thought was going to be my highest timeline in 2017. And I've shifted since then. Things have happened that, and people that have known me and followed my work since 2010 will tell you, I look completely different. My face shape is different than it was before. I look different. I had short hair. My hair, like my everything about my energy changed. I went from dating women to dating men. I like all the things changed. Like I'm telling you, and I'm talking about life altering things happened when I shifted timelines. It literally life altering things happen. Now, not everybody's going to have such major shifts, but I had some major shifts to do this work in this lifetime. I have gifts that I've got to go lay in the sarcophagus in Egypt in the king's temple. Very few people in the world have gotten to do this, and it's an ascension chamber, and I got to do that. And when that happened, things in my life like it started shifting and changing. I've been downloaded with gifts that I have never didn't know that were possible. I've had openings of and experiences in different ways, and all of this stuff came from doing this timeline shift. So the reason I'm so poignant on teaching this and why it's one of my favorite things to teach, but I've never done it in a class. I've only ever done it in work with privately with people, and I've decided that I've got to do it in a class, in a workshop, in a 2-day experience. And the reason it's 2 days is because it's just not enough time. This is so little. Like there's not enough time to do this work. You know, and do that. Thank you, Jessica. And share it in such a short amount of time, because it is such deeply powerful work. And I had no idea that I was going to be downloaded with the information and the gifts that I had. And, you know, it's one of the reasons my timeline shift, why I've gone back to school, why I'm now getting a PhD. And, you know, I have all these other degrees and certifications, but all of this stuff came from these shifting in these timelines. So, I want to invite you all, if you want, I'm going to actually pull up the information for you here. I know it's 2 days. It's 4 hours each day. It's next weekend. So it's the 29th or the 30th and the 1st. So September 30th and October 1st. I know it's a lot of time out of your day, but I'll tell you, it is, and if you can't come to it all live, come to what you can live. You'll get the recordings. You'll get to come back, because the key is that this stuff is so powerful that I wanted to give it to you in an experience where you could do it over a couple of days, because you need integration time at night. Day one is going to all be about shifting past timelines. It's going to go do revisions, go in and heal some shit, like, fix a relationship, fix a money situation, fix a, whatever that was going on that's kept you in, like I said, my harmonic points. I had the same harmonic points show up in my life when I was 8, when I was in my early 20s, when I was in my early 30s. And then last year, in 2021 to 2022, that harmonic point showed up again in my life. But each time I'd done it, I showed up differently in that point. I lost, in the previous 3 times, I lost a family member or a love, my home, and and a job, right? Or experience. I'm completely moved, everything. So I was homeless, all these things that happened in these different experiences, and all of those harmonic points. This time, my harmonic point was, I went through a devastating experience where 7 people died in my life. 7 people passed away. And I also lost, again, my lover, and also my best friend at the same time. And this time, when I saw that harmonic point, and I was in a different timeline, but I saw it and I said, never again will I go through this experience again. And instead, I chose to give up my home. I moved from California to Portugal, and I shut down my academy that had helped thousands of people. And I walked away from life for a year to do deeper work. And that experience was another shift for me, because I took that harmonic point that had been showing up, and I went to it in a different way, and I saw it. And that experience, so I took 1 year off from July 12th to, I said 1 year, I'm not dating anyone, I'm not doing anything, July 12th to July 12th. As I started doing this work, and diving deeper into my newest, my highest destiny timeline, things started shifting in my life, and I wasn't making them happen, right? Like, that's how I got the contract to work with Humanity's team and to be a part of them. That was how my partner, that was my ex from 20 years ago, reappeared back into my life, because I shifted time. Like, all these amazing, crazy things happened in a beautiful way. So I want to be able to share that with each and every one of you. So day one will all be about revising and revisiting the past and healing past timelines. And day 2 will all be about the destiny and future timelines. And that we'll be diving into divine DNA and bliss, healings, into working into your divine DNA, into getting into higher states of consciousness and bliss consciousness. So any of you that were just in my bliss class, you're going to see some of those types of things. We're going to be diving into that even deeper. And we're going to be doing breath work and meditations and all of these things. Literally, it is what I'm doing is we want to energetically shift your nervous system, your physical presence, your spiritual presence, like on all the levels, all 4 levels is what we got to do. We have to shift all of that to have you completely shift and get into these new timelines. So we already have, I did a pre-sale, and so we already have like 20 or more people signed up and registered for the class. And so what I'm going to do for everyone here, you're going to be getting meditations. There's a whole bunch of bonuses and gifts. So shoot an email. I don't really want to like go through all of those things right now. I know you're supposed to do like a hard, like at the end, but fuck that shit. You guys know me and how I roll, right? I just want you to come and hang out with me and play. So it is going to be from 11 to 3 Eastern, on Saturday and Sunday of next week. You can come live. Even if you say I can't do all 4 hours each day, come to what you can. You can pop in. You will get all the recordings afterwards. I'll be doing some follow-up stuff for everybody too. So like we'll do like a month later, I'll have a thing where we'll do a catch up and see what's going on with that. And so that's basically what it is. What I'm offering for you. So the 2-day retreat is $888. And I am going to do it for the next 24 hours for $222. You also have a payment plan for that. So if you need a payment plan, you can split it up into 4 payments. I don't want money to be a reason why you can't show up to come to this thing. That's why I'm offering it at such a discounted price. And I am also, I also do an offer literally, if you really, really can't pay, or you, I do a pay it forward thing. If for some reason you really want to do this and you don't, if you, for some reason you can't have the opportunity, shoot us a message, ask me, we'll see what we can work out. To have you be a part of this thing. I want to have a really robust, amazing group of people there with all of that. So I'm going to put the link in here into the chat. You guys will get an email about this too. And I'm going to ask, okay, so who wants to share about what they just saw when we just did that little elevator quantum timeline? I want to hear. What did you notice, or what did you see? Okay, I have to. What time during the day for that weekend? 11 to 3. 11 to 3, Saturday and Sunday. And you'll be getting a lot of information about how to prepare. You'll get a pre-workbook, some things to do to prepare for that. You'll also be getting specific meditations and breath work things for afterwards. And okay, so, and Source is saying that also anybody that registers in the next 24 hours, I will do a 20-minute private session with you. So I will do some private work. So somebody you're like, I really need to do this, though. I don't usually give out a lot of my personal time, but I will be happy to do that too. So if you have some things that you want to do, Kathleen, yes, my dear. You need to unmute.
Mute again. Okay. Can you hear me?
I can hear you now, yes.
Okay, sorry. I'm sorry I'm late. I had to take somebody to school. But what happened when I came into the timeline shift, when you're asking, if there's a big difference? At first I thought, oh, there's probably going to be a big difference. But it wasn't. It's like within reach, but everything was more like golden or different.
Yeah.
And the vibration is faster. And I could see different people in it. And as I was going through, like, where I live, while you're walking us through people,
Yeah.
what are you, like, I could just really see the shift and more toward, doing more like energy healing things, less on more. I'm trying to go toward instantaneous physical healing. None of the iffy stuff, just right all the way to physical. Yeah. And instantaneous. And I could feel like it's if I can hold that vibration, I'm getting there,
Yep, absolutely. So, and it is all about learning how to stay, like the wiring of the system, to make sure that it's correct to be able to stay in that vibration. And this is the reason I talk about, like, one of the things that I didn't share on here that that's not coming up for me is like thinking of this and how realities work and things. How many of you, you walk in a certain reality? Like, I live in a certain reality where everything is magical. All these things happen. Everything's good. Like, but there's other people that live on the same planet that I do, that is not their experience, right? Like, you can watch on Instagram or Facebook or things like that. Like, just take two dueling things that have been going on in the world. Like, let's go back to COVID and the vaccines, right? Two dueling things. I believe that all the realities are real. People that believe in the vaccine and people that don't. Why? Because they are living in that reality. But we're all coexisting in the same reality at the same time, in different dimensions on this plane. Like they talk about, the Arcturians are a six dimensions in the sixth dimensional plane, but that they exist right here in this energetically at this time. We are all experiencing our true reality based on where we're at. So when we raise our vibration, when we shift that, I literally have different experiences than other people around me have. And so do I watch the news? No. Do I what? No. And so none of those realities exist in these things, but there are people that live in a reality where that thing is actual literal for them. And I know whatever your belief systems are, I'm not going to go into that, but I'll tell you what my experience with COVID. I was on during COVID over 80 flights a year. Now, y'all are going to probably give me some shit for this, but I didn't wear a mask. I did not have COVID. I took tons of PCR tests. I traveled all over the world. I didn't, why? Because in my reality, COVID didn't exist. It didn't exist for me. Now, that does not negate the fact that I know people that passed away. I know I had somebody that passed away from the vaccine. I also had someone that passed away from COVID. In that person's reality, it existed for them. They got that thing. I was at a party at the end of COVID where all of my friends all had vaccines, all whatever. Everybody at the party got COVID, but me. I was the only one that didn't. Right, everybody else, and they were all vaccinated, and I wasn't. And I'm not saying that whatever your choice was, that's I think exactly perfect for you. I'm not talking about whether I was vaccinated or not. I'm saying my reality said that it doesn't show up for me, so I don't get sick in the way that other people do. I don't have the same things happen to me the other way that I do. Money shows up differently for me. All of these types of things. My reality and the timeline that I'm in it's different. It's just different than what other people are experiencing, and we can all have that. We can all have that. And so that's what it's saying for you, Kathleen, is you can shift into this higher vibrational experience, this thing. Thanks, Liz. And literally live in a different reality where, you know, and you and I, light workers, people that are here to do this work, we have to be in this higher vibration because we're here to do this work to help others because we're trying to raise everyone, right? The square root of 1% of the population is what we need to do to shift everybody to raise up into a new reality, into a new earth. That's why they keep saying the new earth. What is the new earth? That's when enough people shift into the new reality that the Mandela effect happens again, and we all shift, and there will be those of us that will remember things a different way. You know, there are people that don't remember things the way that they never had an experience of ever any other reality. We are the gifted ones where you can say, I had an experience of this or had an experience of that. And there's going to be a point somewhere in our future where there's going to be like me and you, Kathleen, or somebody else that's out there that we're going to be like, I remember when. And everybody else in the world is going to be like, it didn't go like that. And we're going to be like, it did. It was in our reality. And now it's this one. And this is the new reality, right? That's what's happening with the collective timeline shifts.
So my question then is, if we're doing a timeline shift and we have all the different realities, you know, like, because it felt almost like to me like a 6th or 7th level, just a different reality.
Yeah.
By doing this meditation over and over again, then we kind of remember what the vibration is and hold it, because then we have to be aware when we fall out of it and then how to get back into it.
Well, so it's not, so that meditation there is just a little piece of it, right? Like there's a whole, like the key is not just the meditation, because if it was just meditation, then I think everybody would be doing it. It's also the alignment of the nervous system and the body in that experience, right? Because it can't just be on a mental and spiritual level. It has to literally be embodied on a physical level. So we have to, that's what the breath work is for. And that's what the daily walking in it is for, stuff, because the nervous system has to remember how to be in that vibration also. So it's beyond, and that's why I'm doing the 2 days, because I want people to walk out of it shifting their bodies, because our body, right, our Merkaba and our system, this vessel, is the whole thing has to shift, and where we've been stuck in that, and at the DNA level. And so the other key is at the level of the DNA, we need to shift, and at the level of the DNA and at the level of the body, and where things have in the past, we've only been doing law of attraction and meditation and into that space. And we're not diving deep into the fact of like, it has to come on at a physical level and a literal physical shift. And then your body starts healing itself too. Like if you have, things going on, where, experiences, your body will shift, like, and you can have instantaneous healings. You can have things like that, because in that new timeline, that dis-ease doesn't exist, Right. And
No,
some people, they'll go to a new timeline and the dis-ease will still exist, and it's either karmic, or there's something they still haven't learned, or there's something else going on and they have to maybe go into another timeline, right?
If it's karmic, it's something, if you're aware of, then you can shift it and change it.
Karmically, yeah, because because we're not only working in this timeline, in this lifetime, right? You can actually go in, just like you can pull gifts from other timelines, the layering effect of how the elevator works, so the layers of bleed through, you could have bleed through of a disease that is bleeding through from a different timeline or a different lifetime timeline, right? Yeah.
Cute.
Awesome. Let's see. Was the 2-day offered as a book? If you are in the Quantum Miracles course, the 2-day workshop is included in that. Yes. 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 That was the bonus that I added in for that workshop. Yes. So if you are in that. All right. Any other? Thank you, Kathleen. Any other questions? Awesome. All right. Well, the link is in there. You guys will get an email too. If you have any questions, you can always shoot me an email back or reply to any of the emails that are in there. And I will be seeing you all next week. And maybe sometime this week too. I'll probably be doing something else this week, but bye everybody. Thank you. Thank you.